Well, welcome back to the English broadcast of the 2018 Summer Split of the League of Legends and Pro League. We're back to more action for our final series of the day, and it will be Bilibili Gaming taking on Vici Gaming for this final one. And I feel like we just need to set some expectations, because I know there's going to be a lot of new viewers off the back of MSI, and also a refresher for us as well on how BLG will be taking on Vici today. I want to start with BLG because Clement, I feel like this is going to be the big 5v5 brawlers we're going to have this split.
Yeah, basically the hallmark of BLG is their teamfight initiations and engage. The #1 and #2 player in terms of teamfight initiations are Road and Amazing J, and they are on the same team. So you absolutely want to ban away the recon quickness and also the orange train pain train that is going to be coming for you. It's going to be a very defensive matchup for Vici Gaming right out the gate.
And team fighting is the name of the game, especially since the team of BLG are not really known for their laning phase. In fact, when you look at the lineup in front of you, this team should be known for their lanes. Audi, top lane, jungle, Swift, mid, Fire Rain, and for the bottom lane, it's going to be Snow and Caveman rounding out Vici's lineup. So Vici, for them, it's an identity shift, and they're going to be tested versus a team fighting team, Amazing J top lane, Chieftain in the jungle, Mole mid lane, and the bottom lane of Jin, Zhao, and Road.
Yeah, you're 100% right, because also if you are a viewer from last split, you're probably like, hang on, where's Easy? Like, why is Fire Rain in the mid lane? Fire Rain, Mordekaiser main. So he is the OG Mordekaiser main. If there's going to be any player who is the most adapted to this meta, it's probably going to be him in the mid lane.
Yeah, and it feels like it's just going to be Vici. You're talking about Mordekaiser. That's definitely, it feels like a feels good man for him. But identity shift is going to be a big one for them, just because last time around Vici Gaming were known for team fighting, or at least getting into a large to the 30-minute mark, because they want to get to those long team fights. They had Martin who wanted to get those hyper carries. They had Easy Hoon as a control mage.
Yeah,
so
this is essentially a new team we're looking at right here, because the top lane's different, the mid lane's different, and the jungle, and the ADC is different as well. As we all know, Long has retired. Audi, who used to sit behind Amazing J on BLG, is now their starting top laner, and Snow is their star of the team, as they like to describe it. Fire Rain is the Mordekaiser player, and it's kind of the new guy, but we have to set expectations. He's probably not going to be a superstar. We're looking for him to become a good LPL mid laner before really taking over the reins that Easy Hoon left.
And you're talking about player after player. For me, it is going to be about Audi and Amazing J. The fact that Amazing J, statistically, in team fights is the way he goes. His damage per gold and damage taken per gold, it's off the charts. I remember in the Demacia Cup, he was out sporting Mundo, but still had the highest damage in the game, because he does not give a damn. You call him a streaker, but that's because when he notices he has an advantage, he keeps walking forward. The biggest point about Vici, though, about Audi, is that even though we don't have any footage of him last year, because he was behind Amazing J, he played a few games when he was on EDG, and that he was just playing a lot of Fiora. Camille was a big one. Split pushing was the name of the game for him. So early laning phase and looking for that 1-3-1 should be Vici Gaming's point of view.
Definitely. If you've seen OPGG, you watched it a lot, you've seen Audi, because he's been in that top 10 ranking as a Camille player as a long time in the last split. So it's definitely a contrast of styles going up in the top lane.
So let's turn into that to something tangible, right? Because we're talking about Vici. Last split, they've very much been like the team of 1,000 cuts. That's really just been them to death, basically. Everything has been warped around Easy Hoon. Now, what are we expecting? Are we expecting something similar to BLG's 5v5 Brawl, or something entirely different? What's that look like?
Look, it should be something different, and it should be different every time, because to make it clear for everybody, Vici is the worst team in the league. Last split, that was the case, and it is an identity shift. We should be seeing different identities, because they have a 10-man lineup, so, or at least they've been sporting around a 10-man lineup. Yeah. So this time around, it should be looking for 1-3-1, looking for top side heavy. That should be it for them. If it doesn't work out, then it should change.
Clement,
yeah,
what
the biggest thing I would need to see from Vici is for them to match the tempo of Chieftain and Mole, because this meta is not going to give you any relaxation like Easy Hoon. That guy woke up at 30 minutes. This is not the patch to do that. So Fire Rain and Swift, they need to get their things sorted and really play an aggressive game, which is something we haven't seen from them.
A change by necessity, because there is no 30 minutes anymore. Okay, we are going to send it over to the casters, but while we do so, we're going to hear from Aldi and his experience changing teams.
Welcome back, everyone, and thank you so much for that toss, guys. We are now ready to get into Vici versus BLG. We just heard from Audi saying, hey, sometimes you have to jump around. You have to change environments. That might be a bit of a struggle for him because, as we heard from the desk, he's playing against the team that he was a substitute for. BLG, he sat behind Amazing J for an entire split and didn't play a single game. So maybe this could be the impetus for him, as he just said in that quote.
I mean, maybe, Dom, maybe. He, before that, was also in EDG and had some struggling showings as well himself personally. So there's a lot to prove for Audi as a player up in the top lane. And yes, against Amazing J, someone that he may have been an understudy for an entire split on, you might say, never getting to actually play there. Could have done wonders for him. We don't know.
Well, yeah, we're going to find out with this game. I think that's the big question for Vici overall, is with them bringing in so many new players. As we heard from Raz, running a 10-man roster, this could finally be the split for change for Vici Gaming, where we actually get to see them grow and adapt beyond their sort of limited mid-centric playstyle of the past.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, mid is still going to be a major focal point for them with Fire Rain coming in, having never won a game with Vici. And it's not to say that the teams won many themselves, but EasyHoon, at least when he was there, they were able to pick up those victories. So coming into this game, I would say the roster moves that we've seen have been a lateral shift for them and hasn't been an upgrade or a downgrade, strictly speaking. But I do think there's actually added potential there behind the players that are currently starting for them. Speaking of Fire Rain, it's very hard to actually deduce what his ceiling looks like. We've never seen him play to his best yet. But I think Snow and Swift are the two you actually have to look at for Vici as positives, because now they've had time. They've been with the roster, not for an entire split just yet, but for long enough and through an off-season to learn, to adapt, to grow, and to actually start fresh this time and come in looking closer to their best.
And this is where we're going to have to look for this new roster of Vici to show us some sort of special synergy. It's not just the 5 players' individual skill. There's some that makes them a team, because if anything, the team that disproved that is their opponents, BLG. They were the 5-man average skill players, but they always had that extra special spice, that teamwork that allowed them to pull off miracle victories out of seemingly nowhere.
Yeah, they are called the Miracle Makers, Bilibili. They definitely know what it takes to pull a rabbit out of a hat and try and find themselves victories from places where they absolutely should not be getting one at all. They love themselves, their late game team fighting. It is the crux of their team, but they have diversified. They've changed up their jungle mid lane duos. Athena's got a new jungler, and Mianhua, who's going to be playing with him here and there. But right now, it is Chieftain and Mole. It's the dynamic duo that we saw towards the end of the spring split. And they were a fantastic duo.
Yeah, absolutely. A huge, at least for the meta, were at least upgrade in that mid lane in the jungle, completely opening up that aggressive tag team style. And as we get into this second set on the 8-11 meta, we've already seen some crazy mid jungle duos. The Mordekaiser Shyvana. There is a bit of an opportunity for us to explore that space even more. And we did talk about Fire Rain being a Mordekaiser one-trick before entering professional play. So I'm just saying, the conditions are ripe for us to see something special here. But on your screen, you can already see pick and ban has begun for Vici Gaming versus BLG.
And I will say, as we get into this pick ban phase, there are 2 trains of thought that you could take here. You could be the Jing Dong or the JD Gaming approach and just go all in on crazy, you know, do something different, hard commit to that different. Or you could be a bit more reserved, come in, actually test the waters, just dip your toes in and see how you're going in terms of skill before you go towards the cheese. And that's something that we'll have to explore here through the pick ban phase. How down that rabbit hole shall Vici fall?
We're certainly going to find out, as Camille is the final ban, and immediately Aurelia locked in for Vici. Now we can see this go in a couple of different places. BLG will get the opportunity to try and counter and pick around that, as I'm sure Pulse is jumping out of his seat, our resident Aurelia main.
Yeah, there's a chance that it could go to 3 different roles. Of course, in mid lane, it is uncontested. Probably the number 1 or number 2 blind pickable alongside Zoe that has also been banned away by Vici. So far so good, actually, through the draft phase here of Vici with that first pick. And of course, it can go to top lane, it can go to AD carry. No inclinations of that just yet, of course. We'll have to explore as we get further through.
Yeah, we're seeing Jin Zhao actually sticking with a marksman here. In our 4th game so far, we've only had 4 marksmen locked in on these LPL games. This makes the 5th with that Lucian, and of course the Rek'Sai for Chieftain to follow up and support that. That does sort of start to open the way towards the likes of Yasuo, if we could see BLG inclined to lean in that direction if they want to go for a knock-up style composition. But in answer, that does mean Skarner locked in for Swift, and Jin is going to pair up in that bottom lane.
Yeah, so the place we're going to have to bring this one back towards as Vladimir does get locked in is actually the Rek'Sai, something that has been Not exactly a high priority jungler, something that you haven't seen a crazy amount of as we moved into patch 8.11, but something that still exists and is always going to be worth looking at. I know Raz was super excited about the Rek'Sai potentially. Had a rough game when he first tried it, but you saw a lot of potential in the champion, of course. So Rek'Sai does still exist, and this is another good test for the champion of can she keep up with the likes of Ascana that has just been running rampant through MSI.
We'll absolutely keep an eye on that. Of course, we already know Chieftain and Mole are a very aggressive tag team and duo, so we'll see what the mid lane for Mole is going to be to pair up against that, because we still don't know if he's going to be playing against that Aurelia. Meanwhile, Jax has again been banned away from Amazing J. He's sort of the heartbeat of the team for BLG. He's the captain. He's the shot calling.
And alongside that, you might be expecting a Mundo ban away from Amazing J at this stage. The Jhin locked in, not exactly someone that wants to rush his execution as calling. Of course, you can get it from the Aurelia, but it's not the risk that you want to be taking. We've seen Amazing J play Mundo. We've seen him solo carry games by himself, and they probably want to get rid of that one.
I mean, we heard about from the analyst desk how Amazing J is a streaky player, I suppose. When he pops off, he really is going to pop off and start running rampant across the enemy backlines. And Mundo is absolutely a champion that encourages that. As Morgana is the final ban. That means Mundo's open. I'm just saying.
I just don't know how far the streaky rabbit hole we want to go down here as well.
Look, Mundo's shirt is already half torn. That's all I'm saying. We'll have to see what that final pickup is going to be, though, as BLG. They're now rounding out their own composition. They'll get final pick, and looks like they're going to be saving it for Amazing J if they decide to lock in this Alistar, which they do.
That's not a bad choice, getting the counter pick to the top lane. More so understanding and discovering where is that Aurelia going to be going. You know, is it going to be a top lane or a mid lane? Most likely mid, of course. But you need that confirmation as we also get ourselves a Nautilus down here. The support from the looks of it of Vici Gaming, one of the new supports we've seen crop up on this patch.
Yes, some really tanky lineups coming out of Vici. 2 tanks plus the Skarner for engage with Jhin and Aurelia dancing around the fight as best they can. And I'm just saying, look at those biceps. How can you not want to see a streaky player play a champion like Mundo and literally go where he pleases?
I have no doubt that Amazing J will be looking at the money man Mundo. Of course, he will lock that one in for himself. So exactly what you would want from him, playing a tank in the top lane. Very well with the team composition as well in the mid stages of the game. And for BLG, you are looking at mid game. You're saying that's a point where they will be super powerful.
Absolutely a strong composition for them. That means that the Aurelia is going to shake out into that mid lane, Snow taking Jhin in AD. That Nautilus going to support, as you mentioned. So just like this, we've got our compositions locked in for game 1 between Vici and BLG.
And now the first thing that you will have to notice with these team compositions is that BLG have a whole lot of healing.
Oh yeah.
There is a Vladimir and there is a Mundo running around. Lucian will get himself some lifesteal as well. Blade of the Wrong King is the staple first item of choice for him. That means the other side needs to get some healing reduction, but there's no Morellos that can be built. There is no mage in that middle lane. It is the Aurelia. They are desperately in need of an Executioner's calling, and that will have to be seen.
We're going to see how that build path shakes out for them. Of course, you don't need to quite rush it first item, but maybe in that mid game, if we do see Vici try to chase down some aggressive fights, perhaps look for some mid game objectives, which traditionally has not been their style, that could be where they see success in this. We know Vici is a team that they see the most success when they are allowed to dictate the pace of the game, when they can set the tempo and force the enemy team to march to their beat. If anything, BLG is probably one of the least, I suppose, malleable teams in the LPL. They do what they want when they please.
And a lot of it is about getting ahead early. And you would say as a stylistic matchup against Bilibili Gaming, that should be perfect. You know, a team that has an okay early game, but fairly cerebral, slow start with Chieftain and Mole just controlling mid jungle. If Vici get the smallest inkling of a lead, they change the pace of the game, right? They control it. And we've said this time and again through the spring split. We'll reiterate it here and see if it stays true in summer. Dancing to the beat of Vici's drum is losing the game against them. That is absolutely true, Dom, like you mentioned. But can they do that, firstly, with Fire Rain, but secondly, with still a fairly new jungler who should have his footing here in Swift?
And then Snow and Audi as
well. Snow and Audi.
The 2 new players. We've got to wonder, perhaps we could be seeing an entirely different style for Vici Gaming as they make their way into the 2018 Summer Split to declare their presence. They were, as we heard from Raz, the worst team of the 2018 Spring Split. So if ever there was a time to hit the reset button, get their grounding, get their footing, and forge into a new direction in the summer, this is going to be it. It's got to start here with this game 1 against BLG.
Definitely has course correction a necessity for them, honestly. They are on dire straits, to say the least. But for BLG, coming in second place in the Demacia Cup, but it's not something that you want to harp on too much, Demacia Cup. A lot of the teams don't go in with full rosters or the highest preparation there. RNG, as an example, just got back from MSI, so they were just riding high on their performance from there, and they're able to use that to get themselves the victory. But to finish in the finals, to still make the finals is a commendable thing, something worth noting. BLG looked very good. The fact that they have 2 mid laners, 2 junglers they can alternate between, and both looked good. Always going to speak positively towards this team. And we say that Vici need to course correct. BLG can just start on the right foot like they should again.
They've been taking the right steps for a long enough time now that it's time for us to stop talking about BLG as being the younger brother in the shadow to Edward Gaming. This is a large team, a large organization that has forged their own name within the LPL, and now they're starting to compete with the best. Now they're starting to try and make their own legacy amongst the best region in the world here in the LPL. But looks like we're running into a few technical delays as we get into this game number 1. We'll keep you updated as to what those are going to be and how quickly we'll get them resolved. The music has got me so amped. It's been so long since I've heard the music, but that we're just seeing it constantly build just gets me more excited for this. I can only imagine the fans as well downstairs are just as on the edge of their seats as I am.
It's just a song that has no drop, Dom. That's the thing.
Not.
It has pauses. It doesn't have a drop. You don't know when to not be excited.
Okay, if ever there was a time to not, I think this would be it. It's just
high BPM elevator music. You can't help yourself.
That would be the most tense elevator ride. I feel like if I were in this elevator and they were riding to the top of the building, I would
like
start
a
getting
Copernicus
nervous.
on the other side with the Hunger Games starting or something. That's how it feels.
Anytime the elevator doors opened, I would look to see if there was somebody outside with a sword or something. League of Legends Battle Royale confirmed with the elevator music. That's it. You heard it here, folks.
But we should take a second, of course, and talk about the game at hand. We haven't mentioned in too much detail what the compositions really want to be achieving for themselves. We said for BLG, mid-game is a place you'll be looking. We said they have a lot of healing, but what they have in the mid-game is a lot of damage, more than anything else. Alistar is actually the only real guaranteed form of crowd control for them as they're running around. They've got Mundo, they've got a Rek'Sai knockup, but it's single target. You know, none of that's full team fighting. The Alistar is the most important part of that. And we've seen carry performances from supports like Ming from RNG when he gets the Alistar. But to be able to do this as Road, he's one of the engaging supports of the LPL. He will look for those fights. He's very good at Rakan as an example. But will it always be the right decision? Will he actually be engaging at the right time?
That's
Rakan
always
can
the
get
question.
out, Dom. That's the thing.
Well, Alistar does have the the ultimate, the Unbreakable Will. So he can decide to just declare, you know what, I'm going to take reduced damage and just walk away as best I can.
The slow death.
Then again, knowing Road, he's the kind of player who would engage and then the rest of BLG sort of scramble to recover. I think it comes back to the shot calling for the team to be able to see that Road is positioning himself in this way to set up for the fight. And this is where we look to Amazing J setting up these plays for his team.
And Amazing J has always been a vocal member of BLG. Back when they were called IMA, of course, he was one of the primary shot callers when they went to Worlds in 2016. He's a loud member of the team, and there is a story to be held. Is that a tattoo?
It looks like it. It says doesn't sleep.
Doesn't sleep.
Doesn't sleep.
I respect that.
Either that or doesn't sleek.
Insomnia is a serious issue.
It really is.
No, but for Amazing J, he's a sorry, I was very distracted. He's a big shot caller for the team. He's a major vocal point, but there is also a play style that a lot of teams can try around that fact. They can actually just focus him. You know, how can you shot call if you're behind? How does a shot caller actually navigate League of Legends when they can't contribute themselves, especially as a top laner? We can see time and again a lot of people tend to focus that lane and try and stop Amazing J from being a big carry. But that's where he has resilience. He has mental fortitude. You mentioned Road also being able to engage. Well, those two have been together for a very long time as a top laner and as a support. So they'll be able to carry the burdens of the other.
Yeah, and that's where we sort of see the veteranship of this organization start to really thrive. Because Amazing J and Road have this resilience under pressure, you can see Amazing J and the rest of BLG make these miracle comebacks so often. A quick update for you guys. As is expected, it happens all the time in your games. It happens all the time in my games. We did have a lobby error. We're rebuilding it real quick just to make sure the 5-minute delay is running down for that one player who didn't load into the game.
I don't know if you're familiar with this, but we call it getting oofted.
Getting oofted.
Yeah, I think that's the...
Okay.
Because when it actually cancels, it says oofed.
Oh,
Message,
getting oofed.
So.
Oofed, sorry. Didn't connect.
Yeah, that's a tragic oofting for both of these teams.
We're trying to get that resolved as quickly as possible and get the players back in. To the best of my knowledge, we are still running same pick and ban because we did not see any game action state yet. though that could very well change. We'll hear from League Ops for more updates in just a little bit, but still we're trying to get the players back in on this. And still, this is, again, the beginning of the new split. We're making sure all our tech is up to standard. We're making sure everyone's ready and good to go because we've got 10 whole weeks of LPL action continuing to come at you, and this is only day one.
Mate, look, it's better to get it out early.
Yeah, exactly.
That's always the way that you treat it. Day one is the day to shake it off, to Taylor Swift your way through the day and come in strong for the rest of the split. So.
This is like that one player when you set up League Night and everybody logs in and the one player shows up 5 minutes late and then they're not even patched.
Oh, God.
And you're like, come on, really? You couldn't log in when you got home yesterday?
Every damn
Make
time.
sure you're updated.
You all know who you are.
It's always one. It's always one. But we're trying to get the lobby set up as quick as we can. Again, gaming never ends for Vici. They've been struggling so hard over the course of the spring split. And also for a bit of history between these two teams, Vici Gaming have not taken a single win over BLG, previously IME, since 2016 Summer Split. This organization has struggled against BLG for a long time. So not only is this the course correction coming into summer, there's also a little bit of perhaps personal revenge in this as well.
Yeah, look, for what it's worth, I do think it's pretty funny that BLG haven't actually lost to Vici at all, and it's a tragic thing for Vici, who have been a sporadic team at best in terms of their performances. And it's not just BLG that they've struggled against, right? It's often the entire league. Their spring split was very poor, unfortunately, for them. They were the worst team during the spring split. They've had some readjustments now, of course, so they can come back stronger, but historically they've been slow. They've tried to be methodical. It's the death by 1,000 paper cut style of League of Legends, where they choke you out. They don't just go for their KO punch.
Well, if ever there was a sleeper hold to try and put the enemy team to sleep, I think this might be a new adaptation to death by 1,000 paper cuts. Just playing the slow game. But we were just lauding Amazing J and the rest of BLG for having the mental fortitude to last for these long games.
They'll never tilt, don't you worry. You cannot tilt BLG. They were molded by it. They understand, and they will be perseverant. They will be strong. Their mental resilience is there. The team will always play at their best when it matters the most. For the side of Vici,
This is where we have to look, I think, at the mental resilience for this team, because it is so many young players coming in. Though certainly some of them are veterans. Swift playing previously for Newbie and Xiaogu way back in the day. Even Audi from EDG.
I have a comparison for you, actually.
Hit me.
I feel like, I don't want to hit you.
No, with the comparison.
I feel like Audi is comparable to Fire Lolly.
Okay,
in that they, you know, both former EDG members, both came to different respective teams, and both continued to have the same issues that they had when they were on EDG, which I would say is actually a big part of why they left the team in the first place, right? Like, it's good that EDG trained them up. They're an opportunity another team, definitely take it.
Yeah.
But EDG didn't need to keep them because they had better options still starting. For Fire Lolly, stage fright seems to be an issue, or nerves, whatever it is for him. He definitely struggled, and he was outspoken about that and has since gone missing from competitive league. For the side of Audi, he went to an international event, and we didn't really get to see a lot of him before that, and he struggled on that international event. And then suddenly he's now joined another team as well, and again, great opportunity for him, but we have to wonder, and this is now our time to see for Audi if it rings true with the comparison, does he have similar issues to what he had when he was in EDG? Will he have lapses in communication or judgment, and make crazy decisions or choices that aren't cohesive with the rest of his team?
Yeah, and this is where we can sort of look at his journey over the past year. By sitting as a substitute behind Amazing J, if ever there was a top laner to have single-handed fortitude, that would be the person to learn it from, because Amazing J has been in the league for so long. He joined the LPL and against all odds said, I am taking this team to Worlds, and then actually did it in a single split, running the gauntlet and denying WE. So if ever there's a mentor to learn from, this is going to be the one. And now, stepping out from not only EDG's shadow, but also from under Amazing J's shadow. This could be the opportunity for Audi to redeclare himself to the world and show that he's also ready to learn and grow and challenge the standard.
It does make you wonder just how tight they were in terms of both being top laners under the same umbrella of the organization of what was BLG last split. Are they actually super tight in terms of like super good friends? Do they talk to each other strategically? Did Audi sub in for scrims and Amazing J offering feedback and advice like that? Because how close they were may actually indicate a lot about how this game plays out.
Yes.
And this is, as we mentioned for Audi, not only just the mental check on how is his mentality coming into this, this is actually the perfect game for that, because he's going to have that extra fire in his belly to play against Amazing J if they were close in terms of top laners.
Absolutely. Nothing quite like playing against your former mentor and showing them what's what. And that's why someday I'm hyped for the Talia Yasuo lore matchup. That's just the lore nerd in me getting super excited. But anyways, we've got a quick update for you. Picks and bans are the same, as we have not reached state of the game just yet. So we will be getting back in shortly. Again, sorry for the delay. We're working through it as quick as we can to make sure that the players are able to get in. We don't have any technical issues because, again, this is still the beginning of the split, but it looks like it might be happening, Rusty. BLG versus Vici. We've got them all up on the screen. Everyone has been so patient. Thank you so much for bearing with us, but it looks like we might be ready to get into game number 1 between Vici and Bilibili Gaming.
Certainly looks that way, Dom. The stage is set. Vici against BLG for their first game in the LPL of Summer.
Of course, the fans also cheering on their favorite players as they get into this. Fire Rain stepping forward now to fill the role of Easy Hoon in his first game against BLG. Didn't quite have a great performance, but Amazing J. Mundo goes where he pleases, but he usually needs some items and levels before he can do that. I guess he's just going to go then.
There was a potion actually used by Amazing J.
Oh, yeah.
Very early use of the potion. Super cautious there. I guess he just wanted to hang around, but that's actually a big mistake through the laning phase as it starts to pan out. Of course, we'll have to see if it does actually affect it. Amazing J usually, and Mundo specifically, quite resilient as a champion. Still gonna have the teleport. He's against the tank. But
Back up to full health already.
Yeah.
And even going to help Chieftain with the leash. We'll keep an eye on Chieftain's pathing with that Rek'Sai. Is taking that precision tree where we do see Predator running out of Swift. So it looks to be fairly standard, and of course the Aurelia mid lane shouldn't be a surprise to anyone by now.
no, not at all. Aurelia is going to be a staple through that middle lane. Should actually be more of a staple in the ban phase than actually playable. And we will get an opportunity here to watch Fire Rain have his crack at the Aurelia himself. So excited to see how he goes. Fire Rain still with a lot to prove individually as a player in that middle lane. And to contrast that, Mole has gone for the Electrocute on the Vladimir. Usually you'll see the Predator, but Electrocute is the other way to go now since changes to the runes here, there, and everywhere. Unsealed Spellbook in particular is the one that had to go.
Yes. Still feels fun to take, though. Able to swap between the summoner spells so easily during the lane, so if you ever end up with the wrong tree, it doesn't feel all that bad. But that Predator perhaps could look to synergize with Rek'Sai and just go for the quick 100-0 burst on Aurelia before she gets too many resistances. Or it could be trying to set up the duo that we know of Mole and Chieftain going for invades and hunting out Swift. That said, Swift isn't exactly known for playing a passive style jungle.
He's not, and Skarner is one of those champions that can be very passive, can be more cerebral. Chieftain has had vision, has had knowledge of where Swift was when he was at the blue buff. There was a ward there, waiting for the tunnel. They're in.
They're engaging forward onto Caveman. He's chunked down, knocked back. The CC, he flashes. That's the heal. Doesn't make it to the turret. First blood, BLG.
Really late flash there coming out of Caveman. Finds himself dying. Heal also used from Snow. Very poor start here from the side of Vici, but more importantly, you have to commend BLG for their decision to gank down there in that bottom lane. They get the kills. Ignite Flash, only 2 summoners used, and they still got control of that bottom lane. Great start in the 2v2.
Things looking good for BLG with that early duo. And of course, the kill going into the jungle with double assists to Jin Zhao and Road should set them up and allow for a lot more push pressure. Again, they are running that Lucian with Press the Attack. So lots of opportunity there, but Swift, he's going to try to make advantage, or at least take advantage of that Rek'Sai on the other side of the map by stealing away the Krugs of Chieftain.
Get himself some big Krugs and some Kruglets up there. Of course, he's not going to be ahead by any means, maybe a camp or two, but the experience still goes to Chieftain for the kill and the gold for the kill on top of all of that. The jungler of BLG is the recipient of it, so the flash, well worth it. And you would say the potion used by Amazing J at level 1 to get that ward down, well worth it as well.
Just tracking the enemy jungler. That's always such an important game against Swift, especially if he tries to play a carry-style jungler on, excuse me, on this Skarner. He's got a little bit of flexibility.
And up quite a bit of farm here in this middle lane is Mole. Something we spoke about, of course, a little while ago. We had a delay, so thank you for sticking around with us through that. Is the style of compositions that we've got going. And through the early game, given that Chieftain has started so strong, Rek'Sai stays super relevant. Doesn't need that level 6 to be super strong. Swift on the other side wants that 6, wants to power farm up towards getting the ultimate, whereas Chieftain still playing around at the moment with waves and minions.
This is a very large wave. Fire Rain is not taking the bait. Steps forward and continues to hang out under that turret, as he actually does land the close stun and continues to dodge around. You can already see Mole is just being oppressive, trying to control this lane. You mentioned the CS advantage. Road is starting to step forward and control the river on this bottom half, and the Lucian will control against the Jhin and the Nautilus. BLG have set themselves up really happily on this bottom side.
Yeah, one thing for BLG and for Vici actually is their AD carries haven't gone back to base and they haven't shopped. So any ganks that happen in the bottom lane have been inconsequential towards the lane control. So Lucian and Alistar still being pushed under their turret, and that's unsurprising for Jin Zhao. He is very used to not having a support next to him, as Road is that river roamer.
Ever the roamer. Much like me and my last name.
We call him the Wanderer, not a Traveler, because he doesn't often know where he is going, but he just goes.
Ooh, we could be seeing another rush down to the bottom half. Flash engage, pins Caveman to the wall. He's the target again. Snare onto Chieftain. Is he going to flash for the knockup? He doesn't need to, as the heal gets him close. And another kill over to BLG.
And pretty much entirely set up by BLG there. Snow was not going to turn around and apply any damage of his own. So just a nice engage, nice follow-up from the bottom lane of BLG. Road in particular making that one work. And Chieftain, he comes in. He nets himself a kill, basically stealing that one away from the damage dealt by BLG's bottom lane already.
Yeah, and now BLG, they've already shown what their plan is going to be. Lots of pressure on that bottom half of the map. Still no recalls just yet. It's being completed now from Jin Zhao and Road. We'll keep an eye on what they decide to go for. Snow continues to farm up, but BLG just going to, as is standard for them, looks like leave Amazing J on an island, let him do #AmazingJ things, and then just focus on that bottom half. The only tragedy for them is that that's a Cloud Dragon, not something perhaps with a huge incentive this early on.
Yeah, a lot of the incentive from BLG won't be surrounding the Dragon itself right now. It may just be continuation of kills and ganks that they've successfully been getting thus far. Now they're getting closer to the level 6 point. Whilst they're still strong, they're feeling good about themselves in that bottom lane with all the gold on Chieftain. That actual strength can be anywhere on Summoner's Rift. And then you look towards the champions that they're playing with. Mole at level 6, has Ignite, has Kill Threat. Definitely when you've got the Rek'Sai nearby to apply damage. But the problem here for BLG is they can't really make a crazy amount of momentum out of what they've accrued so far, specifically at the level 6 point. Having a level 6 Skarner opens up the map. Having a level 6 Ornn with a teleport actually does a lot for alleviating pressure in the bottom lane as well. So it's about getting smaller advantages and then perhaps opening those open into bigger things coming for BLG. It's a small step and then a leap for mankind.
They're not landing on the moon, Rusty. They're just playing a game of League of Legends. They do have that level 7 for Amazing J and level 6 also for Chieftain, so that should make their engages just a little bit more threatening. Like you mentioned, not huge game-breaking impact, but still, there isn't huge incentive for them to try to break open the game super early on, though every team benefits from a snowball. This one perhaps a little bit less than most team competition.
And another thing towards this as well that you could notice is just 2 of the champions of BLG don't have damaging ults.
Yes.
One of them damages himself and then heals the back, of course, and that's Mundo. The other one is Alistar, who just gives resistances. That opens up a lot for dive threat and for things like that, but it doesn't continue to give them too much for actually dealing damage. So that's why we say it's that extra small detail. Give them a lead, then use the lead to actually hit it home.
And still BLG continue to hold on, as that's a quick headbutt knockup as Audi trades back with Amazing J, but any damage you do is not going to stick. He still hasn't recalled, hasn't used that teleport. Finally, he looks to be starting off that recall, but even I don't know if that's going to stick, as Chieftain will just happily take that blue buff. He's on the bottom half of the map once again and spots out Swift.
Level advantage for himself may help with trading, especially for this Scuttle Crab, which is where every jungler and every player on Summoner's Rift wants to fight over. So well done from Chieftain here.
Yeah, recall was just completed from Fire Rain, so that would be no support from the mid lane, and BLG are starting to push a wave in bottom, so that means priority will go to BLG this early on. Not opening up a huge advantage, but still slowly but surely,
I mean, frankly,
they're starting to
Amazing
recruit
J
more.
needs to recall. I'll be honest, it's finally
There
going
he
back to
goes.
base, and it's well timed because an objective is being looked at. I was going to say, if he doesn't go back, he can't teleport. If he can't teleport, Vici would win the forthcoming fights. So they have timed it well in the end, but they're cutting it fine.
They're actually going to sneak out the Cloud Dragon Mole. Sidesteps the stun. Swift
Whoa
thinking
there,
about
Cowboy.
the Predator flash, but it's matched. No impale happens. Teleport started. And it looks like it's going to be completed as the chase, leaping out the Void Creature. Chieftain is going to catch up to Swift, gets impaled back in. Amazing J is in there as Chieftain gets pulled way too far. And Mundo, he may go where he pleases, but that might be too far as Road is starting to step up. Stun against the wall. Here comes Caveman, and the follow-up onto Mole as BLG get way too greedy on Chieftain's command. The Ignite burning down, and the follow-up knock-up onto Road. It's absolute bounce house as the 4-stack of Vici pick up themselves 4 kills.
And there you go, hit level 6, find the team fight. It was a snuck away Drake, but then they pushed it a little bit too far. Flash to hit the P shooter here. Rek'Sai can't afford to go that deep with no vision of the enemy team. And suddenly he is made to pay for that, goes down, and the whole team goes down on that sinking ship with him. You've got all the gold, and you make the risky play. And the thing is, it starts really rough here for Vici. It's
Swift,
a good counter flash from Mole. He'll want that flash later, so it is a good outcome for him in the end. Ornn's already in the river. Aurelia is ready to go, and Nautilus has rotated up just a little bit behind that of Road, but he'll still be here for the fight. Fire Rain gets all the resets on the queue, and because they get that first kill super early on in the piece against that Rek'Sai, the fight's theirs to win. There is no damage. There's not enough damage to deal with this many tanks at level 6, and all of the ultimates that are there from Vici. Comprehensive victory on that team fight.
Absolutely massive for them, as that's going to set them up in gold. Now even with BLG, as it's a trap in the brush. Jin Zhao turns onto Caveman. The stun trades back and a quick cheese kill. Plus culling onto Snow. He used the heal but doesn't have flash. They could be setting up for the dive, but decide to let him go with only a warning. As BLG, they might have lost a fight in the mid lane, but they're still skirmishing bottom.
And barely a bullet missing there from Jin Zhao as well, looking super clean on that Lucian, and they do come straight back down to the bottom lane. They do still get themselves the 2v2 fight, picking on Caveman, preying on the fact that he had nothing left after what happened on that trade in the middle lane. Good stuff from BLG. They don't just go down, they come back fighting and give themselves advantages again.
And just like that, they're back up in gold. Still no turrets taken in this game just yet, despite all of the trades that we've seen. Fire Rain in the mid lane. He's down about 10 CS, as it looks like he will be going towards the Triforce in the mid lane. Mole finishing off his Proto Belt. Swift, he's starting to feel himself with these invades now. Brings Audi and has also got the support from Fire Rain in the mid lane as he steals away the red buff, but Chieftain steps up. Smite is ready, and Chieftain secures his own. Swift has got Impale. Chilling Smite, but lets it go despite all of the pings from his team.
Lets him off with a warning. He'll back away. Swift back into the river. The safety of the middle of the map, it seems, for the Skarner.
Oh,
Amazing J.
That's the next target. That's going to be the knockup. He's made brittle. Impale isn't used just yet. Finally pulls him back in as Fire Rain hops forward. And AJ, he's healing up. He's low, but it's not going to be enough. He dies. Fire Rain gets the kill. Meanwhile, another death from Caveman. 0 and 4. Every single one of his team's deaths.
Caveman may be regretting rushing Boots of Mobility as a Nautilus down in that bottom lane. He's not even roaming first, unfortunately. Road has been there first every single time, being preyed upon by BLG's 2v2. That's how you know that the bottom lane is snowballed, and that is a scary prospect for the opposing team here of Vici. But for the rest of the map, a 3-0-1 Aurelia, that's going to be super dangerous for Jin Zhao to deal with. And now we've got ourselves just strong different points of the map, and you have to see how they actually collide.
And again, we mentioned Jin Zhao is always a very patient AD carry. He's going to have to show his patience when there will be an Aurelia diving onto him. Fire Rain, the new mid laner, could try to make something happen, but Caveman is caught again. Look at the CC. He's pinned and knocked forward, but Road forced to flash away from the turret. And Caveman escapes this time. First brick picked up by BLG in the bottom lane as Rift Herald is actually used up top to try and trade back with another turret, but BLG are just continuing to push for the tier 2.
Yeah, Chieftain's still nearby to pressure. Very difficult for Vici to come down here and deal with this. Even the Vladimir nearby.
Oh, somehow that hook landing, but Caveman goes into his death again. 0 and 5 from the support of Vici.
Dear Diary, it's day number 3. I am still hooking enemy champions with only Boots of Mobility. I am not sure why.
That is a sad, sad diary as BLG Mole follows in from the top side to force away the rest of Fire Rain. And the rest of Vici, as the tier 2 has been taken, Rift Herald finished off by Amazing J on the other side, means it's 2 turrets for 1 in favor of BLG.
And another victory for BLG in the end. We'll get to see the start of this where Caveman went down, the fight that we missed initially as the Lucian just around the corner. Road has shown a lot of proficiency with holding his headbutt most of the time here, ensuring that Caveman dies pulverized. Just sit there with the chains stacking up around that Nautilus. There's no way out for him if you play that style, because he wants to hook a wall and get himself to safety. But instead, Road positions himself forwards in front of that, preventing any escape, and they keep netting the kills onto him.
And that's a lot of gold now onto that Lucian, as you mentioned, 2, 0, and 3 on Jin Zhao. A lot of assist gold going to Road, and then even more gold onto Chieftain in the jungle.
But there is that ever-present concern as you get towards the mid-stage of this game, items being completed. It's a Trinity Force done for Aurelia. He is super powerful against that Lucian, and even the rapid-fire cannon being done for Snow. Extra utility, the movement speed, the extra range, more importantly, against a low-range champion like Lucian, means they can still be applying damage to the low range, but the high mobility carry of BLG.
Now the Infernal Dragon has just spawned. You can see it on the left side of your screen. Amazing J has actually joined up with his team in the mid lane to help clear out the wave of Mole. And they could be setting up for a big fight here. Lots of assist pings, but Road is on the flank. The Wanderer is going to go for a quick wander. Tries to go for Swift, but headbutts the ground as he misses the Pulverize. The fight breaks out. Swift is in the front. Road taking as much as he can. Here comes the Ornn Horde. Jin Zhao in the back. Sidesteps the knockup, but Fire Rain, easy assassination. He gets one, but that Vladimir is still at full health. Chieftain flashes back onto Snow. Not enough to get the kill as he's trying to pull him in, but he's on top of the ward. A snare goes wide as Fire Rain dodges 1, 2, 3, but it's not enough. He's stunned by Road and will finally go down. The shutdown by Mole.
And you know what? Fire Rain got the kill. He found Jin Zhao. He does take him down, but you're sleeping on the rest of BLG if you're not looking at Mole, who does need to be careful currently and will get himself out alive. But Mole with a big team fight. Amazing J leaving it at completely full health as well.
Yeah.
You can kill that one carry of BLG, but that's not the team composition. That's just one man of an army of damage dealers.
Jin Zhao tried to play his heart out in order to survive and outplay the Aurelia, but that's the damage that we saw. As a result, to the victor of the fight goes the spoils. Infernal Dragon finished off by Chieftain, though he is spotted out by Caveman and Swift.
He won't.
That's a greedy recall. Knows the Predator is on top of him. All right, calm down, Chieftain.
We'll get to see the fight again. It even starts with a ground pound out of frustration here from Road, of course, just missing that one. Great combo. The Aurelia ultimate hitting everybody, and that's why Jin Zhao is just going to die here.
Yeah.
Gets the resets, Fire Rain very easily able to go, and you don't get to see the rest. We're back.
The tragic impale death charge. Or sorry, depth charge. It seemed like a death charge at that point.
Yeah, he was super dead. And that's the thing, though. Like, you can't come into another fight even from that point. Even in that fight, of course, you can see that it doesn't work. But Skarner ultimate being used onto the Lucian, followed by a Nautilus ultimate, followed by the Aurelia flashing forwards after the ult hitting and only hitting one target. That's not a team fight victory. That's an assassination attempt on the President. But there's like an army of people still there watching you do it.
I mean, it might have worked out that time. They got the Lucian, but they lost the ensuing fight. We have to hope that in the future they'll be able to transition that into a few more kills off the back of it, because now we're 18 minutes into the game. Baron is up in 2 minutes, and the next dragon looks to be a mountain. So Vici can't afford to trade 1 for 4 or even 2 for 4 in the future.
And they do risk being outscaled here by their composition.
Yeah.
When you look at all of the tanks that's there for them, that's fantastic, right? But a 0-6 Nautilus, no longer a tank.
Yeah.
You're looking at Ornn being a primary tank. Swift also going to complement that, going towards Banner of Command second, however. So he's not infinitely tanky himself. But they're a composition full of tanks, so where's the damage coming from, right? As they start to scale up, get those items, and look for team fights, Fire Rain has to assassinate someone or they pretty much lose the fights, or Snow has to find a way to do that. And even then as the Jin, super hard to do when a Vladimir sprints at you.
Especially when you're 50 CS down behind Jin Zhao, 0-1 to 2-1-5. The gold difference alone is massive.
And even past that point, there is no Grievous Wounds available. Mundo's gone for Spirit Visage being rushed. There's nothing stopping that Macho Man Mundo.
Level 12. Oh yeah, he's chasing down the kills, but now they're going to fight over the blue buff. Road starts the fight off. Swift steps in, the Impale. Again, the CC train. They haven't managed to kill Jin Zhao this time. He finally will go down to the Impale damage. Mole is in the backside, and BLG might be a little bit too split up for this fight. They've lost 2 so far, though they will trade over 1. And Fire Rain will trade over for another kill. It ends up being 3 for 1 in total.
And BLG will just be counting their lucky stars because it's 19 minutes in the game, not 20, or the Baron was Vici's to be seen as well, but they get the team fight victory. You might be wondering how they're even able to get that one. Well, they split BLG completely apart. Mole not able to get entry into the backline and find the kills. And Jin Zhao's having a very bad day. Not being able to survive at all currently, being completely demolished, honestly, by the side of
And
Vici.
look at the build change. Immediately pivoting over after 2 items and picking up that quick silver sash to just try and get out of some of the crowd control.
And a lot of this still comes down to Audi hitting really good ultimates on the Ornn. The Impale finding the Vladimir this time as well. They separate the fight, they separate the carries, they don't let BLG play front to back. And Amazing J and Road, the tanks, they're still there. They get focused at the very last, however, because the carries of BLG taken down pretty much immediately and quite cleanly.
And as a result of that, Vici are able to find a favorable fight. This is a skirmish style from Vici that we haven't really seen from them before, as they group up and successfully defend their blue buff, picking up a few kills. But can they continue to take these skirmishes against a comp from BLG that's going to continue scaling up, that's going to continue trying to pull Vici apart?
I mean, frankly speaking, this is infinitely better than the Vici we have seen of last split as well, when Fire Rain specifically is in the roster. He's looking wonderful compared to any contrast of the last split. 6-1 on his Aurelia, going towards the second completed item as well. Looking to be Asterix. Super strong. And actually able to put the carry pants on for the Vici roster.
Yeah, so far, as you said, 6 of those kills. Audi with another 2, so it's the 2 members from Vici. The 2 new members from Vici that are putting out some big work, and it's Swift, Snow, and Caveman who are taking supportive roles.
Yeah, and the other thing is that Snow just hasn't died. You know, for what it's worth, with a 0-6 support sitting next to you, the fact that he hasn't died is commendable in and of itself, frankly. Caveman having a very poor showing on this Nautilus, a champion that we may not see for him coming into the second game.
That's seems like we're going to get the classic, oh, do you want to queue up for another game after this, after we take this win? Like, oh, no, I'm afraid I can't. I've got to do homework. My next game, maybe I'll sit out.
You made that way too complicated.
You guys go ahead.
I'm thinking of this more like I banned my duo partner's champion for the last game.
Also a good choice. Yeah. We're still on the same train of thought, though. Maybe not queue with the same support 2 times in a row. But hey, who knows in this game, as Snow is still putting up a good performance at 0-4. 50 CS down behind Jin Zhao, but he's able to survive in these team fights, at least long enough to sidestep away from the diving Mole, Chieftain, and Amazing J.
And Mole is still quite fed, right? When you look at Fire Rain, you're like, that's fantastic. He is 6-1. He's having a very good game for himself. Mole is still 4-1 on the opposite side with 2.5 items there for himself. And that's a team fighting mid laner in the Vladimir. It's going to have a very large impact. Jin Zhao is also still rather large, even though he's being focused. The one fight he survives, BLG win.
And we're absolutely going to keep an eye on whether or not they can execute that correctly, as Chieftain will aggro the Baron, just clearing out the vision, as now we're past the 20-minute mark, that massive objective. Still taking shots, though, as Rek'Sai apparently has angered the Baron of Nashor. But Mountain Dragon is up in 15 seconds. You can see there's some defensive vision set up from Vici on their own side of the map. Doesn't quite look like they're in a position to contest it, though.
The next Dragon, definitely the place that focus should be put towards, but Vision, of course, littered across the entire map, and you saw the aggro, of course, on the Baron from Chieftain, so losing a bit of health. Not in the safest position for a pure team fight. They're looking to take this away uncontested.
Again, that's the Mountain exactly as we said. That does mean that Fire Rain gets the chance to push in that top lane. Swift is actually stepping forward with Caveman to invade into the jungle of BLG. Now that's the pool used. Swift with the Predator. Flashes the wall into the Impale. Do they have the damage to burst it down? They do. Another kill, Vici.
More than enough damage with Swift able to get in. Flash used the Impale and lock them down. Of course, now in a 4v5, Mole, one of the major members of the team, just going to be blazing with a grey screen, unfortunately. Not having the best time just then. Vici get access to the Baron area as a result of that pick as well. So you take the Dragon if you're BLG, and now you just hold on for dear life for 20 seconds, and then some as they wait for Mole to walk back towards top lane, towards the Baron area.
Yeah, interestingly enough, that wasn't holding on for dear life. That was aggressively pushing Vici out of their jungle. They did lose the top tier 2 after the follow-up push, but they were able to save the red buff for Jin Zhao, so BLG still doing a pretty good job of keeping themselves in this game despite that very successful pick from Vici. Now I've got to wonder, can Vici get away with something similar once again?
They are waiting a little bit here, Vici. If you were the team of Vici Gaming, if you were Snow specifically, you'll be saying, everyone, 1100 gold is the number. Once we hit that and I get a completed Infinity Edge, my crit chance doubles. I'm doing true damage now. We're going to kill everyone with that Infinity Edge. So just hold your horses for a little bit longer. See how they get actually able to navigate that fact, of course, with the Baron alive. They have access to the Baron being on the blue side, the best side to actually navigate yourself into the river on the top side of the map. So a bit easier for themselves to deal with that.
220 CS, still 50 CS down, but now he's got his team there to support him in that mid lane. Even Audi getting pulled up just in case BLG were looking for a dive, but still, even with Swift waiting in the wings, the quick stack is not going to be enough to defend the turret and the culling. Quick proto belt to scare them away, as that's 5 members of BLG.
But that's super scary, and again, this you have to remember, no Grievous wounds available. They have to kill someone if they start a team fight immediately. They have to lock them down, they have to die, or the sustain will be far too strong. Amazing J getting close to that level 16 power spike that Amundo will get in terms of healing. With no Grievous wounds to prevent that one, it's all on the ignites. But even the ignite from Fire Rain is on cooldown right now. Caveman, the only one with that available, and he's so fragile that if you see Caveman in a front line, it is just to hit and quit as fast as possible.
You just got to tap it and get out as fast as you can. Try to set up for your team. It's really the ultimate trust fall in these sort of fights. Will Caveman land the ignite onto the Mundo or the Vladimir? Luckily, he's got 2 targets that he can really worry about.
Yeah, you know the Fire Rain will be using his on the Vladimir or the Lucian, presumably, as well. So Mundo is the one that he has to ignite if they don't have Grievous wounds, or he's critically failed, unfortunately. That's not the wall you want.
Audi just going to headbutt back to safety as Amazing J is pushing up, and BLG continuing to dance around this Baron area. The vision has been pushed out by Vici by the Dragon, but it's already been taken. Meanwhile, Mole caught in the mid lane by the collapse. 4 members of Vici again show up and just find a kill onto the mid laner of BLG before they can respond.
He just feels a little bit too safe, unfortunately, Mole. That's not the first time that he's been caught, but with the mid lane out is still there, they are able to continue to keep pressure and push away Vici just that little bit longer.
Looking for the headbutt onto Swift, just chucking away those chairs.
There's just so much control of the map when you still have that mid lane outer turret there. And you can see Vici getting a pick. Fantastic outcome for them to get the kill once again on the Mole. Now 4 and 3 from 4 and 1 in a short space of time. But then they can't really afford to push too far forwards, get vision any deeper than just the river. So they can't actually look to set up around the Baron, maybe generate picks. Their composition would excel at that. If you have the Ornn with the rest of the team, you have the Aurelia, the Skarner there, and you control vision in the river and just that little bit deeper, you see them coming in, you get the pick, you get the team fight.
Yeah. The pick-oriented composition has been finding them, but hasn't been able to do anything with them outside of take that top tier 2. So Vici seems like they've drafted themselves into the correct situation. They just need to actually do more of what they're doing. As Mole, he's just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
And didn't use the puddle correctly, of course, was locked down by the Jhin. So Swift just had to stand still, wait a little bit of time, and find himself the kill afterwards. Mole with summoners available now, though, will be able to flash in the forthcoming fights.
And finally, we do have Grievous wounds picked up. Snow will be able to start chipping away at that Vladimir, at that Mundo. The Executioner's calling could be BLG's head on the block if Vici are just ready to drop the axe, but BLG, they're fighting back.
I just got really distracted by the Drakes that we've got spawned. I was thinking of song lyrics and how happy Atlas will be about it, but...
Fire or Wind and Mountain?
If you don't get it, I'm not I don't get.
All right, okay. You can keep that joke to yourself.
Oh, I will.
All right. I'm glad that we've got that out of the way then. Do you remember? Okay, sorry. 28 minutes into the game, and
I'm actually upset you didn't know it.
I thought it was. Anyways, no, we're good. We're getting back into this. We're talking about League of Legends, Rusty. It's BLG. Get your head in the game.
All right.
You got to get your head in the game.
That was weak. That one actually hurt me a lot. I'm now going to advance the story because of that. Thank you.
We're at least going to try to.
You mentioned that the Grievous Wounds was there for Snow. That is a place that, again, I don't blame him for not getting it until after the Infinity Edge. If he's going the IE build, it's super crucial that he gets the item completely.
Yeah.
The spike won't be there. He'll be super weak, and you can deny healing, but if you're not doing damage, you won't kill Amazing J regardless. So picks up the Infinity Edge, then can afford to go towards the Grievous Wounds. And when you're looking towards Fire Rain, when we speak itemization, the Sterux does a lot for helping him kill Jin Zhao, sustaining himself, dealing damage. It works incredibly well with the Trinity Force, firstly, giving extra base damage. Sheen, of course, scaling with base AD.
And the Guardian Angel on top of that. So even if he fails the dive assassination once, he has a whole second go to try again. Here comes the Mountain Dragon now being picked up by BLG. Has 3,500 gold ahead. Seems like they're having some difficulty closing this game out as they've held an advantage for a majority of the game, but constant picks onto Mole have kept Vici in this, and now they're starting to hit their own big item breakpoints that we mentioned.
You know, I don't know about you guys at home or even you here, Dom, but
Yeah.
I don't feel good finishing a complete Guardian Angel without using the stopwatch first. It's always one of those mental battles that you have with yourself on, like, do I finish this item when I haven't activated my stopwatch?
Well, what do
you
you do? Use it on the fountain when you have enough gold?
Well, no, it's more like, do I want a team fight with a 600 gold tank item that effectively is a stopwatch and then, you know, get extra damage instead?
But then theoretically, that's a delayed Guardian Angel.
I know, yeah. That's the mental battle that I always have with myself, but I'm sure I'm not the only one.
Well, we'll just have to ask the chat afterwards and find out what they think on this one, because right now, Vici are trying to defend as Baron looks to be the target for BLG. They've cleared out all of the wards. Black Cleaver finished off for Jin Zhao. Andy's got the Ninja Tabby to try and survive Fire Rain's incessant diving. But we've got some really big items being finished. Warmog's also finished for Amazing J. Zanya's, along with the Morellas for Mole.
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty much at 3 item spikes across the board here for every member that needs those items the most, of course, when you're looking towards the banner of command builders. Swift, in particular, had gone around that item a little bit, changed his build, and went towards the Zeeks beforehand. So banner will appear eventually. The question is when. And I don't mind waiting on that just a little bit more, empowering his team's damage output. I have to watch who he's attached towards.
The Chieftain, whoa! Forced a tunnel away. Swift, lightning fast around the pit, looking for the flank, but Chieftain's able to tunnel to safety.
There's still that ever-present risk, though, Dom, as the game progresses on do they get outscaled here, Vici Gaming. The Vladimir team fighting, now he's 16, is unreal. Lucian, if he survives and he's gone towards the Black Cleaver build, has a QSS, a little bit more survivable against just the Aurelia. He's got a hard task against him, but if he does, the damage output between those two, the Vladimir and the Lucian, is incredibly high. It just makes you wonder if all of the bruises that are running around on Vici's side will be enough damage output to take them apart. And Aurelia's job gets, of course, a little bit more crucial.
Fire Rain, he's had a clutch performance so far, but now we see the Baron started by 2. BLG step up to start shredding through its health. Audi's on the other side of the map. He's got teleport, but isn't even channeling it, as it's just BLG finding the window, finding the Baron. Now they finally know, but Baron's been taken. Audi with the teleport into 5 members of BLG. Cancels it at the last second as Vici's momentary lapse in vision costs them.
Against the Mundo and against the Blade of the Ruined King Lucian, all it takes is 10 seconds. You don't get to the pit in 10 seconds, it is completely taken away from you. And that's the case here. So BLG, very well done in their timing. They don't bait it this time. The one moment they get an avenue of entry, they just take it straight away.
And that does mean 3 minutes are on the clock for BLG in this power play. 6,000 gold ahead, and finally they're starting to break some turrets. Mid-tier 1 was taken earlier, so now it's only mid and top for those tier 2s still standing for BLG. The big push for Bilibili, though, is can they break an inhibitor will this, or will they need to wait for the next Baron cycle?
They've been maintaining the gold lead for most of this game, and this is that first opportunity to really blow that open and try and find the game-closing lead, the insurmountable lead that Vici cannot possibly come back from. But BLG have decided first to shop, to get their items to actually be as powerful as possible before they go for that one big power play. Mole, even by doing the Wolves there, has clearly got some items on his mind.
Rabadon's finished off. Double needlessly large rod all stacked up. But like you said, that team fighting Vladimir, that team fighting Lucian are ready to rumble. And Amazing J pops that elixir of iron to get even bigger. And now BLG are getting ready. Vici have got to know that this is coming. What is going to be their answer?
And they can very easily deal with the Mega Macho Mundo if he's in a side lane, but when the team fight comes in front to back with the Elixir on as well as the W, very hard to actually keep away from your carries. The problem here for BLG is that firstly, Skarn are very good at locking you down. Ornn, long range on the engage as well. Snow with the rapid fire cannon autos can poke you down on top of all of that. Through that, they just need to brute force their way in. Jin Zhao, low ranged AD carry. Not always feeling safe to step up to the turret, and they don't have a banner of command to just break the structures down incredibly quickly.
Yeah. BLG going for the patient strategy, just using the standard Baron cannon minion. They now step up to the inhibitor. This is a much narrower choke point, much easier for Vici to defend, but it's already chunked down to half.
And note that Amazing J just keeps taking aggro intentionally. No one can remove him from the front unless they start an all-out brawl and team fight immediately. turret will go down unless Vici are able to step up and deal with them sooner rather than later.
That's 60 seconds still left on that Baron. The inhibitor turret is at such low health. AJ walks up the flash gate on the Swift. It's a fight on two fronts as an all-out melee. 5-man knockup is huge from Audi, but Jin Zhao, he's surviving for long enough. Chieftain is able to leap forward and defend his AD carry, and that's going to be Fire Rain getting shut down. BLG have lost everyone as they chase down yet another kill.
Oh no.
The Luchador has declared that this is his ring, that is his belt, and you cannot take it from him. A double kill from Amazing J, and the juggled kill onto Audi means the ace and BLG turn on to the inhib, and shortly thereafter the next.
You wouldn't believe there's turrets there, Dom, but BLG, they get the dive, they get the team fight, and they get themselves the victory.
BLG turn onto it in the first game of the split, 2018 summer. They find themselves with the W.
We said it in the draft phase. We can say it again now, very confidently, of course. Giving Amazing J the Mundo is always a risk that you will be taking. He's very proficient, rather, on the champion, able to navigate team fights super well, but more so able to just stand in front of his team and just be thick with 3 Cs. Unstoppable, cannot keep him away. The damage behind him.
A bulldozer.
Yeah, but it was mostly Mole that was dealing the damage behind him. That's the other place you have to look towards. The first time in this game for the past 10 minutes where Mole wasn't getting caught dying immediately, they get themselves the fights, they get the Baron, they get the game pretty much straight away.
And I was so excited to keep an eye on Fire Rain in that final fight to see if he could look for the dive on the Jin Zhao. I wasn't paying attention to Mundo trying to complete the Infinity Gauntlet of damage just by chasing down the members of Vici over the course of that fight. And that was a relatively low kill game, 14-11, still pretty close in gold by the end, 12,000. But if you take a look at that gold graph, it really tells a much closer tale.
Yeah, it spiked with the Baron. The Baron was pretty much the thing that ended the game completely here. And we did speak towards that as well. Without the Baron, BLG can't really siege super proficiently. They'd have to be diving when they do siege. And once they had the Baron, they could set up to actually enact a siege. But by doing so, it forces Vici to step forwards to you. And when they step forwards, that's when you look towards the team fights. That's when you get the 5v5. And that was the thing that eventually actually won the game for them.
Yeah, it seems like we were seeing BLG return to a more patient overall, I suppose, macro-based strategy. They weren't super aggressive looking for the picks. They were just playing, well, outside of Jin Zhao in the bottom lane. Yeah, on the far side, BLG were trying to play nice and safe. But it was Vici who were allowed to play their patient pick-based strategy against it and look for openings.
Yeah, Vici actually played quite aggressively. It's just that they didn't have their eyes set on an objective afterwards. So they were really lost besides the picks.
Yeah, well, we'll have to see if they can recover as we're going to go ahead and hear from our analysts on how BLG took that game one.
Thank you so much, Dom. And let's be under no illusions here. That was not an easy game for BLG to win. I mean, Audi was trying his hardest to make that a win for Vici there. And to be honest, for a vast majority of that game, I thought it was going to be a win for Vici as well. But what went wrong?
Well, they got a lot of good team fights in the start of that, and BLG kind of threw it to them. But the fact is, when they went back to their own lanes, they handed the kills right back. We saw the kills in the side lane for Caveman as well, starting the game with 6 kills down, and they never really grouped and pressured the objectives afterward, just like Rusty said. So it was kind of like a catching situation. They basically caught out BLG when they were on the offensive, but they didn't have the time or the coordination to then get something afterwards.
Yeah, I actually, right from the beginning of the game, I thought it was going to be a done deal for BLG. BLG's 2 kills ahead because the bottom lane fight, Rek'Sai's completely far ahead. Swift was so desperate to go for that play and it fails. But the issue here is that Chieftain sacrifices himself. You know what? I'm okay with that as long as the rest of the team backs away, but it's far too late from this point forward. They're just all getting scrapped down. Of course, Road even comes to follow. What are you even doing, Road? All of them pretty much get caught out for this one mistake coming in from Chieftain.
And that really was just the story of the game, Clement.
Yeah, it's like it was a really hard early game for BLG because they made a lot of mistakes, but they slowly fought themselves back into it. And right here, this is BLG again, thinking that Vici didn't have all their members here, but once Ornn popped over that wall, once they saw Audi, it was like, oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of winners in this game, I would definitely say that Audi was the MVP. This guy was setting up so many fantastic ultimates for his team. And I know a lot of people be like, look at the damage, look at the moves from Fire Rain, but ultimately he was just last hitting people with Q. All of the work was done by Audi.
Yeah, and the last 2 replays did showcase the fact that Audi and Fire Rain in the in those team fights when they had the lead for themselves were pretty damn good. I really like to see the mechanics coming out of these players when they had the lead. But the first replay showcased that they shouldn't even have had the lead. So the first replay was that bottom lane was getting hard demolished by the Rek'Sai gangs coming through. The bottom lane vision control was heavily in favor of BLG, and it was Swift who was super desperate to make the play happen. If Chieftain had not used his ulti, if he had backed away because that was a poor gank from Swift, then BLG makes it a much faster game. It's just good that BLG ultimately played it a lot more patiently and were able to draw the game out.
Yeah, this is a big discussion we were having. Is it okay that Amazing J is on something that doesn't initiate? Because this is kind of the problem with BLG. When anyone else is doing it, it seems incredibly rushed. Road has that tendency as well. We saw Chieftain right there playing like a Lee Sin on a Rek'Sai, going for the Cleave Flash into it. And it just comes down to, like, is Mundo the pick that they really want to go on? Because they've been going very hard on the Mundo in Demacia Cup as well.
Look, week 1, day 1 is not the time where you want to have Band-Aids, all right? That's the playoff time. That's end of season. Right now, you are correct. It feels like when other members, specifically Road, are tasked to be the primary forms of engage, then you get hectic plays coming out of it. It's usually Amazing J that is much more reliable when it comes to CC. So week 1, day 1, you know what? Give the responsibility to someone else and let them learn that.
And
I agree with you.
You're absolutely right. It's like the cornerstone of those engages has always historically been Amazing J. We didn't see it this time around, but we did see it out from Rose. And eventually, yes, it was messy. Yes, it was scrappy. But in the end, they managed to pick up the win. Road will pick up that MVP from this one as well on his Alistair play. And I really do think that he deserves it because he really had to be the one to get those engages up. Because if he didn't, then it was probably going to be a loss.
I think he's getting this MVP because he destroyed the bot lane so hard. Caveman did not have a good time here, and the coordination between him and Chieftain was actually amazing to watch from the bot lane. We really haven't seen that from BLG for quite a while, you know. Chieftain being on the squad. 13 games last split, they won 11 of them. So this is an entirely new BLG, and they're coming in, adapting to the new aggressive patch.
And remember, of course, the Korean pair of Road and Chieftain. It's coming through ever since Chieftain was on the roster. It was just the support and jungle synergy coming through. Of course, biggest number to hit on the fact is that 100% kill participation. That's always nice to see. And it just showcases the fact that Road moves towards the side of the map where the team is. There's no splitting of the side, even though they had the opportunity to do so with Jinja on Lucian. He could be on side lane, but that's not BLG's style. BLG wants to be able to win out through team fights. So, you know what? Pack up your bags, Jinja. You're coming with me. You're going mid lane. We're going to end it properly.
And on the opposite side, you heard it from Vici. Their goal is to not be last place this split. I will say that from what we saw in this game run for them, I saw a lot of good things. I actually probably saw the best Vici I've seen in probably over a year now. Yeah. So there was a lot of good things there. This could have been a win for them. But what do they want to replicate? What do they want to keep? And what do they want to get out of their play?
First of all, I think this is the best game that Fire Rain has ever played. This is his. He has never won a game in LPL, and he's on the bottom of a lot of statistics. But I saw confidence in his play this game around, and I hope that can continue to grow him. The other point would be Audi. He definitely learned something from Amazing Jane, because those Ornn horns were amazing.
And we expect that coming out of Audi just because of what mechanics we saw him in solo queue and in EDG. But I didn't expect that out of Fire Rain, so I'd love to see them bolster that. Give him another. You probably won't get Aurelia again, but give him something else so he could play through mid lane. That's not Mordecai.
If we see it, you know who said it. Either way, we are going to take a quick break, but when we get back, we'll be heading into our second game between Vici and BLG, possibly our final game of the night.